analytics, and fintech in decision making. It will uncover the following issues. How does an organization is currently using big data, analytics, and fintech in the decision making? How to overcome the challenges faced by the organization when it comes to implementing big data, fintech in your organization. I heartily welcome Mr. Atul Tiwari, CHRO, Spice Money, an HR professional with over 16 years of qualitative experience in human resource technology, product design, management consulting, leadership development, strategy planning, shared services, ability to analyze key business challenges. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. I welcome Mr. Rajan Gupta, VP Head Research and Analytics, Analytica Data Lab. Dr. Rajan is a research and analytics professional with over 13 plus years of combined experience in research and analytical consulting, along with training, teaching in the field of data science. He has authored one patent, five books, and more than 75 research paper in the area of public information system, data science, technology, and management. Welcome. Huge round of applause, please. I welcome Mr. Samar Mahapatra, CHRO, Shigan Quantum, the moderator of the session, a senior HR professional with over 31 years of experience in HR in Navratan PSUs and large private sector organizations in auto components, automobile, pharmaceutical, petrochemical, and many more. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. Mr. Sameer Kohli, Senior Director, Projects and Delivery, Cognizant. He brings with him more than 25 years of industry experience working with large enterprises like Wipro, IBM, CSC, DXC, Coforge, and he is now working with Cognizant. He has played multiple roles ranging from IT delivery to contact management. He is a problem solver by using the power of technology. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. Mr. Saurav Agarwal, founder, ProEfico Solutions Limited, 15 plus years of IT experience in diverse domain, rich experience in varied technologies, and has helped multiple USA clients from the last 5 years to transform their business to the digital platform. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. Mr. Rohan Sudan, Associate Vice President, Campus Early Engagement Programs, WNS, an amicable, competent, and diligent professional with good exposure in various HR processes and modern HR systems. Previously, he had been working with the Newgen Technologies. His area of interest are HR business partnering, change management, HR innovation, and many more. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. I request our students to welcome the delegates with a planter. First of all, I request Kriti to welcome Mr. Atul Tiwari. Huge round of applause, please. I request Palak to welcome Mr. Rajan Gupta. I request Aditi to welcome Mr. Samar Mahapatra. I request Palak to welcome Mr. Sameer Kohli. I request Sejal to welcome Mr. Saurabh Agarwal. And I request Ria to welcome Mr. Rohan Sudan. Over to the moderator.
Morning, I've been finding that it's a very exciting event that is happening. So much of learning is getting shared. There is so much of gathering here. Uh, Great panelists, great speakers. Uh, I, I I have lovely panelists with me. I'm lucky to be the moderator because my job becomes very easy when I have experts with me. Um, so we'll straight away get into the topic. And today, data is everything. Data is business. Data is the future. Data is for prediction, for projections. Nothing without data. I work with Reliance Geo at the national headquarters in Mumbai. And there you see big posters of Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani, the founder, chairman. And it says that the next data is the next oil is data. The next oil, because earlier Reliance Industries was into oil, majorly into oil. They set up the largest refinery in the world. But Dhirubhai Ambani realized, since he was a great visionary, he could predict that the next oil is going to be data. He knew at that time, during his time, that oil is very valuable to the economy, to the people. But he could predict that data is going to be the next oil, and that is what his illustrious son, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, followed the footsteps of his illustrious father to get into Geo. And Geo brought a revolution, which you know about it. And Mr. Mukesh Ambani used to tell us, when he used to address us, he used to tell us, Geo is not a telecom company, it is a digital company. And the objective of setting up Geo is to make the life of every Indian digital. Digital. So digital India, that was his dream, and they have been very successful in penetrating the digitalization into our lives, whether in the corporate world, in the personal world, everywhere. Okay, today you can't do business without data. I've been same topic. I was talked 2 days ago to the data analytics. I was teaching to as a visiting faculty to NDIM students, New Delhi Institute of Management. So today, if you go to the boss in the corporate sector, he says, or you go to the CEO or to your management, he asks you the first thing, where is the data? And he asks you about the authenticity of the data. Have you validated? Is the data reliable? Okay, dependable? Is it real? And then what kind of analytics have you done? Then what kind of recommendation? You also have to make recommendations after doing the analytics. Your job doesn't end only with the analytics, but you have to make the best recommendations as well. So business today is all about analytics, and you can't do without analytics. You may be in any function, any stream, any profession. Today, the life is all about analytics. Okay. So from personal analytics, behavior analytics, to your talent management analytics, to attrition analytics, to financial analytics, to business development analytics, all analytics is at every step. Nothing happens without analytics. And we talk about objective, we talk about KRAs, quantifiable, measurable, objective, objective appraisal system or performance management system. It's possible only through data and data analytics. Okay, so nothing reduce the subjectivity. Data should speak for itself. Today we say in the corporate world, your data should speak. You don't have to speak. If you speak, we may not believe you. Okay, you may go wrong. You may commit an error. That is the there may be lapses, memory failures or failures in your data. You cannot remember so much of data. So your data should speak. Come with your reports. Come with your data. Come with your reports. So great panelists, they have already been introduced. So my uh, so I would ask, I would uh, start from the other end, Mr. Rohan. Would you like to say how can the businesses effectively leverage the data analytics, the data analytics to make better decisions, better quality of decisions, more effective decisions, decisions which can impact business very productively for growth or to get the desired results. Over to you, Mr. Rohan.
Okay, thank you, sir. Uh, so data is everything these days, right? As he rightly said. So data is something that can really, if probably used in the right way, can really help you get a business or can really help you lose it, right? Uh, Being a part of the HR fraternity, we have been dealing with datas in and out, right? Whatsoever matrices that we need to work on, it's all data around it, right? Now I have been a part of campus developing strategies, right? So every year before I start up with my campus season, right, I need to sit on the data of the previous years, right? How many colleges I have visited, what has been the performance of the colleges, where I could get the more talent, which colleges I could not get a better talent, right? What was the number of applications that have come through campuses? What has been my offer to joining ratio, right? What has been the selection to interviewing ratio, right? So all these data points that we sit and analyze on, right, really help us to come up with better strategies for the next year, right? To become more preferred employer of choice at campuses, right? So this is one way of looking how analytics, right, can really help organizations, right, to be competitive than their other counterparts to being at campuses in terms of hiring talent, right? Other than this, you a very popular example which I can talk about is digital payments, right? Everybody knows, and probably most of you would be having Paytm on your phone apps, right? Now, something that they really worked on, they identified data from the market, they really read their consumers, right? That what is the effective way of transactions which can be built in these days, right? They came up with a wallet system, right, wherein you can pay to anyone from a wallet to wallet, right? But then later come other players who further sat on the data, analyze them in a better manner, have better consumer reading, right? They read what that it's a probably a hurdle for people to first transfer from a bank account to a wallet and then transfer to somebody, right? Now they came up with the UPI system, right? A direct transfer, right? So data is something which can really help businesses to take an upper edge, which in this case players like GPay or PhonePe took over Paytm over a period of time, right? Paytm was the first one to come up with such concept, right? But these companies with further investigation of data, analyzing it, coming up with a lot of analytics around it, right, they were able to further build on competitive edge than Paytm, right? Hence data, as I mentioned, if used in the right way, right, can be really helpful for organizations to have that competitive edge, can win businesses for them, and can, yes, can get you a lot of revenues. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Rohan. He has set the context further and has done good elaboration of the topic of discussion. Uh, the interpretation of data, and as I said, the what you do with the analytics, the recommendation part of it is very important. I'll tell you a small story. Yeah, you all know Nike, the great shoes maker. It sent one salesman to Central Africa to find out how is the market for Nike shoes, for Nike products. Then he for footwear. Then the salesman went to the Central African countries and he called back to his boss and he said, "Boss, यहाँ तो कोई opportunity नहीं है, यहाँ तो कोई जूता पहनता ही नहीं है. Okay, nobody wears shoes, so there is no business opportunity for us." His boss reported to the CEO. I mean, his boss, the boss of his boss, and the CEO was very angry. very annoyed. He said, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Send another sales guy. Then the other sales guy said, he called back and he said that यहाँ तो opportunity है, business opportunity, huge opportunity for us, because यहाँ लोग कोई जूता पहनता नहीं है, इनको जूता पहनाना सिखाएंगे. So both did data analytics. So one guy failed in the recommendation. He had the negative mindset, negative attitude. The other sales guy, look at his motivation level and look at his approach. Okay, he also did data analytics and found out that nobody wears shoes, and he gave the right recommendation that inko juta pehnana sikhayenge. And the story was was highly successful in the African countries after this. Okay, so what you do with the data and how what you recommend, it matters a lot. It matters a lot, Mr. Saurabh. There's a lot of challenges about data. Data looks good. Data looks good only if it is real and if it is purposeful. Okay, used in the right purpose. So data, the lot of ethics are attached to data management, data reporting. Okay, so the ethics part of data analytics, the reporting of data. Just like 2 days ago, I saw a WhatsApp posting the World Hunger Index. It says that Pakistan is far above India in the is far above India in the hunger index in the positive sense. I mean, there is less hunger in Pakistan than India. And whereas the reality today is they don't have food. They don't have food. So is this data? Is this data analytics? Are these the uh, right publication of data? So it becomes a joke. People laugh at it. People laugh at it. Okay. So Saurabh, and I'll also set a context for you. The recent case of the Adani Enterprises, which has created so much of uproar and crashed the share markets of all the Adani Group companies, and it has gone up to the parliament. Okay, so there again, ethical issues are there involved. Now, Supreme Court is questioning to the government, is asking the government, so how are you going to prevent such kind of volatility in the market, and you are playing with the sentiments of the investors, okay, who have trusted, okay, with in Adani or any company. So, would you like to talk about it?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Mahapatra, and thanks, Jaipuriya Institute of Management, for calling us here and giving us the opportunity to talk about these topics. So, overall, what I see, being an entrepreneur myself, started up a year back. I have been understanding various businesses on the ground. You can call them as MSMEs, some manufacturers, or some distribution companies, or retail stores. So basically, data is definitely something everyone is trying to figure out, that how to make sense out of it. And we are building solutions to basically help them report the information across the spectrum. But considering the ethics part here, I'll definitely touch upon that. But just before that, I think as an organization, one needs to start building a platform where your data gets converged, and you're able to make a meaningful KPIs out of it, so that it improves your decision making. And people, of course, need to understand that whenever there's a consumer data involved, of course, I think in India we don't have a GDPR law, but US or EU, they have already started up that, okay, the consumer data needs to be protected. You cannot save it just in a manner which can be readable by anyone. So yeah, so I think from an ethics standpoint, India needs to catch up and get their own law with respect to data. And yes, as of now, people are using data for whatever advantage. I'll give an example of, like, I'm trying to replace some clinic using Practo. So what I realized that, yes, these SaaS companies came, they started offering things in free. That, okay, use our platform. We have a good consumer base. Start using our platform. You'll get a lot of leads. And eventually, what happened? They started understanding the data of consumer behavior, how or what sort of diseases or what sort of ailments they have, and they started supplying that data to manufacturers to build or create medicines or create packages around that. I had another example where there's this company named Retalio came in. It is actually in my family business. We are in distribution. So there's this company came in 2018, said, okay, we are trying to build a platform of all the distributors and retailers at one place, bringing them together so that they can start ordering all from one place, and it'll be easier for everyone to just know where you want to find, let's say, aspirin or Disprin or whatever medicine, which distributor has it. And 2 years down the line, they started using all the contacts. They were syncing the entire software data, and they started calling people who were in my brother's firm. Like they were the customers. So of course, there was no ethical practice followed, and people started following up on that, customer leads that they were getting. And slowly, steadily, they started building their own company, and they are manufacturing 400 plus products right now. So you're right. Data ethics is definitely something to be watched out for, and government needs to have some law in place to make sure this is used in the right manner and not taking advantage of it, because that's the key these days. That's where I'll
Thank
rest.
you,
Yeah.
Saurabh. You have elaborated well on the ethics part of it. I would also say that not having enough data can be highly misleading. I'll tell you a small joke about it. You might have heard about it, many of you. One child in the school, he came home carrying his school report, and he said, "I have stood second in the class." So the parents were very happy. They celebrated. They had a cake cutting. So and after a while, the child's uncle arrived, and uncle asked, "What is this celebration all about?" Then he came to know that the child has stood second in the class. Uncle was very smart. Uncle asked, "क्लास में कितने बच्चे हैं?" The child replied, "दो ही बच्चे." Okay, so this speaks about data management, data analytics. So you should have enough data. Otherwise, you will celebrate your child's birthday when there are two children in the class. So, okay, so now over to Mr. Sami. Now, would you please tell us uh, what's that? What is the importance of uh, data management, effective management of data? How important is it, and how it can help to grow businesses? To grow businesses and to contribute to the bottom line and top line, and uh, and how do you manage big data? Uh, how do you make good business sense out of data management?
Sure. Thanks, Amir. And hi, everyone. I know we are between you and your lunch, but I hope you are going to get some insight about the things which are going on in the market. Um, Before I talk about the data life cycle part, which Samir asked, one quick question to the entire group here. How many of you know, you can raise your hands, right? How many of you know someone who has used Nokia for a very long time? Many of you, right? Many of you. How many of you are using Nokia right now? One person. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing good or bad. Sorry, not to offend anyone, but
But he may be loving
this
antique
is.
things, no?
Huh?
He may be in love with antique things.
Yes, absolutely. I also have a Nokia right now, so that's fine. But the point I'm trying to make is, if we are not going to look into what is going on in the market, we are not going to predict what is going to happen in 2 years, 5 years from now. The businesses nowadays go down very quickly. There used to be a cycle time earlier, which used to be very long. It used to take few years before the companies would become a star or a zero. Nowadays, it is like a couple of months. If you don't run at the pace where the market is running, you immediately go down to the level of zero. Now, why I'm saying this, we talk about the big data, we talk about how it can really increase your business, etc. one thing I want everyone in this room, you guys are kind of still learning, and you are going to be the future, to get this very very clear, that it's not about the choice, it is not about if we should do this. There's no choice here. We are going to either do this or run out of business very soon, because your competitors are doing this. Competitors have the edge over millions of raw items churning on a real time basis, for whether it is the fraud detection or is it the customer behavior detection or anything like that. Now, if you are not going to do this, you're not going to have the edge. But it's a journey. So going back to the question that Mr. Samar asked, so how do we make sure? So first and foremost thing is, there is 500 billion gigabyte of data getting produced every day. Do I need all of them? Do I need all the raw items? Answer is no. 90% of that data is usually not structured in the right way. You cannot use it in the direct form, right? The second thing, it is very important that what business problem we are trying to solve. So we should know, am I trying to be cost competitive in the market? Am I trying to design something which is going to give a specific user experience, personalized user experience? Or am I going to probably do a marketing strategy based upon what is going to happen in 6 months from now? Can I predict that? So my problem statement has to be absolutely clear before I go on this journey. Otherwise, it is very easy for the organizations to get lost or buried under the sea of huge amount of data that is available in the market. Once these two things are very clearly defined, the third thing is that you create a data life cycle, data governance. It is very important because, as you rightly touched upon the previous question, ethics part. Is it ethical to take the data and keep it and give the access to entire organization? Maybe not. So this data strategy and data governance is very, very important in every organization, which takes care of the source of the data, which is very important. Where are you going to get the data from? Are you just going to Google it and whatever is there, you're going to just start using it for your analysis? You're going to be doomed if you're going to do that. So the source of data itself has to be a credible source of data. Am I taking the consent from the users? If it is my website where I'm getting the data from, or the operations team I'm getting the data from, is my user aware that I'm going to use some of those fields? Or am I going to freak out my customers? So for an example, if I Google something and suddenly within the next 5 minutes some advertisements start coming in, I'm going to be freaked out that how my data is getting leaked, right? So it has to be in the right context, whether my consent is there or not as a user. Then comes the security parts. There are a lot of IT security aspects which get applied, even at the storage level, file system level, at the user access level. In security, we say that it has to be least access that has to be provided. You don't trust, zero trust model. You work on a zero trust model. People need to have the access to the data only to the level they want, or they should, right? Not want, they should. There is also a level of maybe we can talk about completely blacking out the private information, right? You can set the access accordingly, right? Most importantly, there are audits. You talked about GDPR, for example. In India, we don't necessarily have that, but most of the European countries will ask you to deploy that. It's a need nowadays that even if there is no compulsion on you, you need to adhere to some kind of compliance guideline, so that you don't cross that ethics boundary or the data compliance boundary. Last but not the least, the life cycle is not complete unless until you decide that I have achieved whatever I wanted to achieve. How I'm going to refresh that data, at what frequency? Is it real time? And if that is real time, at what level I'm going to purge it? Do I want to keep the data for 5 years, 7 years, and after that I purge it? Do I want to archive it? And also in a secure way, so that your data leakage does not happen. See, one thing I'll tell you, lately, some of these acquisitions on large organizations where the data leakage has happened, right? These kind of things can bring the organization down. So you start with a very good intention in terms of taking your business to the next level, but because you cannot manage the data, that data and the leakage happens, the business goes down to the zero level. So I think this is a very important question. I try to give the answer. Happy to take any follow-up questions on that. Thank you, sir.
If you case study, small cases, I would like to project to you, Mr. Saurabh, and give your comments on that. One is the Arnab Goswami case about the his channel, how that channel was scoring over the other channels, the competitor channels, and how it got detected, and you all know the story. So, do you think this can, manipulation of data, the way he did it? Of course, it is unethical, as you all have said. Do you think this can be managed for a long time? It can give leverage to the business for a long time, or these are all short term and not to do?
No, absolutely. I think these are all short-term gimmicks. I have not studied that particular case study much in detail, so I can't comment on that. But yes, I can thumb the table and say that, with all the different clienteles I've worked with, any short-term gain that and it's not only in terms of the data, it is business ethics. If you try to gain something out of uh, unruly means, right, some advantage over your competitor and all, in the wrong manner, that cannot go a long way. So ethics play a big role. In short, I think it is very important that we use the data in the right way. We need to understand that data can be predicted in whichever way you want. So how many of you, for an example, know about Ramanujan paradox in this room? Any one of you? I would request you to Google about it. That paradox, Ramanujan is the best of the mathematicians, right, we could have in this country. And his paradox is that the sum of all positive real numbers up to infinity is minus 1 by 12. And he has proved it through the theorem. That's why it is called paradox. Because how can a sum of all the positive numbers be negative number? But the point I'm trying to make here is that with the data, you can actually show anything if you apply the wrong algorithms. So it is, you are playing with the fire here. That's the point I'm trying to make. As a business, we keep saying there is no option but to do this. But if you don't do it right, if you don't do it ethically, I think this is a double-edged sword then in that case. Don't do it, you're doomed. If you do it wrongly, you're doomed. So you have to do it and you have to do it right.
Very right, very right. So we are now completely in numbers right from birth uh, till the end, and data. We manage data, and data also manages us. When you are born, you have a birth date, a birth certificate, and you cannot manage without your Aadhaar number, without your PAN number, without your passport number, your age. Okay, you cannot. Okay, you go for interview, you are asked, where do you see yourself 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Okay, how long are you going to stay with us? So all in numbers, and approach to numbers has also become a mindset or attitude today. The uh, older guys have got a very positive approach to their age. They say that the old guys, retired or whatever, they say that, oh, why should I think that I am old? Age is only a number. Age is only a number. Okay. So now it's also getting into perception, attitude. It is changing attitude of the people. You should also have clarity about data and don't mix up data. Okay. In my in our plant, we there used to be mix up of the products, and the wrong products used to get dispatched, and the OEM customer used to raise hue and cry that I would blacklist you if you go on doing this kind of mix up. Okay, so there has to be identification for each one. I don't know how many of you know this story. We use it in HR as performance pressure. We call it as performance pressure. What happens under performance pressure when you have too much of pressure on you to perform? So one person had a poultry farm, of chickens, and one day the owner of the farm, he called all the chicken and said, you all have been laying only one egg per day. Now the expenses has gone up to 10 eggs per day. up, the feeding cost to you, your food cost has become very expensive. And whereas the eggs are not selling so well, and if you don't perform and give two eggs from tomorrow, I'm going to sell you as chicken. So you all will be consumed. Okay. So if you want to survive, then better late to better give two eggs from tomorrow. Okay. So next day, the owner came and he found that out of performance pressure and due to the fear of layoff and all that, or getting killed, so they had all given two eggs instead of one egg. Okay. But there was one chicken which had given only one egg, and the boss, the owner, he became terribly angry, terribly angry. And he said, how dare, I'm going to sell you and they'll kill you. Okay. Then he said, boss, you should appreciate me for my performance, He said, how? He said, please observe the data. Please observe the data. Please observe the object. I am not a chicken. I'm not a murgi. I'm a murga. So under performance pressure, it had still given one egg. So data clarity. So you should not get confused with the data. Okay. So data clarity is important. Okay. Don't mix up data and get into wrong conclusions. Uh, so Mr. Rajan, would you like to tell us what kind of skills? This is also great skill, you know, data projections, data analytics, using data effectively for right purpose objectives. So, what kind of skills are required for data analytics professionals or data analytics users?
Uh, Thank you for the question, Mr. Samar, and thank you to Jaipuria Institute for inviting me to this forum. And I'm really humbled to share the stage with so many intellectuals. Uh, it's a very valid question about the skills in data science, and I'll start this, from the journey of why it is required to have these skills today. That's the first question we need to understand. And when we were having that digital transformations across the 90s and the 2000s, it was a fear that computers and usage of computers will turn things around for us, and they did. We were moving from paper based age to the computer or the digital age, and then we started sharing that information, and we virtually launched internet, and all the business use cases which were using computer were now moving at the global stage. As we progressed into the decades of 2000s and 2010s, we saw that we have virtually covered up every use case that we can think of with respect to businesses in the form of either mobile app or a web portal or a interactive website or any sort of digital medium that we can think of. And that led to a lot of generation of data. Now, be it anyone who is coming from any of the background, he has to make his hands dirty these days. You have to deal with all the kinds of different data sets and the intelligence and the platforms that you're having. And that's why we say that within an organization, you may come from any of the domains, you may come from any of the functional area, be it HR, be it finance, be it IT, be it operations, supply chain, logistics, customer support, any. So we consider that as a pizza in an organization, and you can relate to any of the pies of that pizza, but you have to have some sort of dip associated with it. Now, D stands for data, I stands for intelligence, and P stands for the kind of platform intelligence that you're trying to derive, uh, personalizations and the personals that are there. So you need to have these skills of basic data literacy in every domain that you're coming from, in every functional area that you're coming from. That basic understanding of data has to be there today. You cannot survive, you cannot communicate, you cannot talk if you are not aware of the basic data literacy skills. And by that, I mean the ability to read, write, and understand data. I'm not talking about scientific methods. So that's the first and foremost skill to have, that every data everybody in this room, everybody in the organization, everybody working around any of the business areas, they need to be literate in the data. Once they are literate, then becomes the level of maturity that you want to bring in with respect to processing the data. So first you understand the data, that's a foremost skill. Then you process the data, that becomes the secondary skill. And then with the help of those processings, are you able to relate the right business questions and the right metrics to the analysis that you are getting? As you have been rightly quoting few of the examples, that just getting the numbers for the sake of getting it's not right. It's how you relate them to the context of the business, the context of the problem that you're solving. The number in itself are meaningless. So the skill to relate those numbers with the business context is the third and the most importantly matured skill that we are looking forward to have. So these three skills at the both combination of technical skills as well as soft skills really helps an organization is in prospering. The literacy part, the processing part, which can happen through different tools and technologies. These days, there are lot of low code and no code tools that are emerging. So you need not to be dependent on only on practitioners and data scientists who comes with lot of coding expertise. No, that's not true. You have lot of low code and no code platforms and tools available which can help you with the processing of the data in a very quick and an easy manner. The way you process Instagrams through your phone, the way you have LinkedIn installed in your phone, it's as easy as handling any of the social media accounts that these platforms have emerged. So the processing of the data through these easy to use tools is the second skill, and third is the relating it with the business context.
Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Rajan. You have said it quite well. Now, Mr. Atul, would you like to tell the group how this leveraging data can give you competitiveness or mileage in the business, competitiveness, mileage in the business for growth, to stay ahead. So how can that contribute to that?
Thank you, Samar. I thought you'll tell another story after this, and I'll get some more
I
time.
wanted to tell, but the
but
lunch will be delayed, so I
no,
kept
thank
the
you very
stories.
much, and thank you for this opportunity. I think some very great insights I've heard about the data, and as we all are also have been hearing a lot, right? In the morning, also we heard with one of the panelists that culture eats strategy at breakfast. And I think in today's world, it is very, very clear that data eats biases at breakfast. And I think because, as we all have said, data speaks. And what I have done overall my experience, which I have seen, is, I mean, one in fact he was saying about the skill sets, right? I think if you understand the data, if you have the skill set, you earn a lot of credibility, and whatever conversation or context you are putting in, that also has a strong base, and that gives a lot of confidence to your stakeholders and to your content, whatever you're going to talk about, right? So that is one of the biggest important piece. And the industry which I belong to, the fintech industry, uh, I think it is very, very important for us as a data insights when I look at it. And when we look at the data specifically, it is very important that we should have an understanding what exactly it means, whether we have an acumen or a skill set to understand the insight, hindsight, and foresight of the data. That's the beauty of the data which gives to us, and basis that we can take and leverage to take the calls basically of any business decisions or people decisions. On the business side, I'll just talk. So I may ask a few of us, anybody, how many districts we have in India? Anybody has any idea?
I guess it is 550, around 550. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 766
My
districts
God.
in India we have.
Because
How many villages we have in India? 7,75,000 villages we have in India, out of which how many villages we have in India which are more than 2,000 of population? Only 6 lakh villages we have which have 2 lakh plus population, right? So why I'm setting this context, I'm asking this question is, see, when we work in any industry or geography, it is very, very important for us to understand what is the data, right? And we Spice Money, which we are a fintech organization, we're working in a rural India. So us as a nation, we have two countries. One is India, which is 350 million population, and then we have Bharat, which has 1 billion population, right? And if you imagine, 1 billion population is more than the whole of the Europe as a market size, if we see, right? So imagine these kind of data inputs if you have, then you can decide what business model I'm getting into. So we as an organization, we are a fintech organizations which is basically focusing on the rural market, solving the access problem for the rural citizens on the financial inclusion side, right? Jandhan Yojana has opened an account for every citizen, but whether they have access to the banks, no. If you go to just outside Ghaziabad, if you go, there are ATMs, you will see, right? But the ATMs are working, no. Either there is no cash, or network is not there, or it is closed for XYZ reasons, right? I'll just ask one more question. We are ourselves called too much tech savvy, right? So we all use UPI transactions. I think fellow panelist was saying, right? So you know how much is the percentage of contribution of UPI transactions from India, from rural India? 60%. Whatever total UPI transaction happens, 60% happens from the rural side of our country, right? So it is also, when you look at the data, it helps you to open our eyes and it gives us insight. And it is very, very important. So these are some of the points what you Samar asked, that's how we should leverage the data to take our business calls. And that's what we have been doing. So that's how we are penetrating. We are reading. Amazon is there. Somebody was saying that when we open, right? Samir, you were saying that when you open, I get surprised that how come my data is being there. I get a pop-up. You go to Facebook or anything, whatever you have searched a flight ticket, you will start getting ads on Facebook of about flights, right? So this is what the lot of intelligence, the AI which is being built on the data. And trust me, this is on the business side. I'll tell also on the HR side. I have looked at, we have implemented a lot of systems like big ERPs, SAPs, Oracles of the world to new age Workdays and success factors of the world. Trust me, the data which is the saying, and within this closed room I can say, it is always being told garbage in, garbage out. And data has the kind of data, the quality of data which you're putting it on the system is what you're going to get the insights. A lot of organizations, a lot of institutions are struggling first to put the basic data. If you'll ask me, people go specifically, and if you ask what is the emergency contact of one person, of one employee, there's no information, or this is some 2 years old information. But the same person would love and go to Facebook or Instagram and check in and then mention, okay, guys, this is my information. I'm reachable on this. Right. So what information you're capturing, the quality of data matters. Then only your insights and data lakes comes into picture. So we as an organization are working on Bharat Data Lake. Right. Imagine 1 billion population is there, wherein we are capturing a lot of information within the guidelines. Though the government has very recently introduced a bill, I think, data security bill, which is going to get passed. And then we'll all have a lot of restrictions on the data security, which we're talking about. Like Aadhaar card, today you can't just give the Aadhaar number just like that. You have to mask it. Even HR departments of the organization are mandated to mask the Aadhaar number. Although on the other side, it is a mandate requirement for PF department to get it linked right. So this is where the data security is going to play a big and important role. But what I'm saying is that data is something wherein whether it is business data or people data, which is one of the most GDPR has come into picture because of that only, data security. How best we can play the data. And the beauty of the data which I have seen in functions like HR, which are supposed to be known more as a more subjective functions, right? You can't measure the performance, or you can't how okay, employee engagement, how you will do that. Trust me, systems, when you put in place, the beauty of the digitization in the data is that it gives a lot of insight and confidence. When I go and my chairman or CEO asks me, how's your engagement in the organization? I just go and say, oh, I have a tool which shows me, and this is the engagement score. This is the mood score of my organization. 4.5 out of 5. 91 out of 100 is my engagement score. So then I don't have to tell and explain much, okay, how many connects I do, how many all hands meet I do, or how I engage with a person on skip level meetings or blah, 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 right? But this is the data which gives a lot of confidence to people that, okay, something really is happening good. Right? But it has both sides. It's scary as well. If the matrices are wrong, it will screw us. If the matrices are right, it will really be I mean boon for all of us. So that's where we have to really look into it. But important part what he was saying is you should know and learn how to read the data. It is very, very important. Otherwise it's just a garbage. And trust me, all of you, basically the students who are here, no matter what, whether you have taken business analytics. I was talking to Himanshu while coming back, Himanshu Devedi, and he was telling that he's doing business analytics. It is very interesting, very nice to have that subject, and glad that Jaipuriya has actually picked up such courses which are very relevant. But it is for every one of us that how we are reading the data is very, very important, no matter what function, what role I'm working on. And if you know that, that's where you will build in the credibility of you as a professional, as an individual, and also as a function or whatever role you are playing. So that is very, very important. Like we have been working also, just Samar, I'll close it, is we have also started looking how many women population is there in rural India. And we have started working on that, how we can create the nanopreneurs. So we call them adhikaris, the other our network. We have 1.1 million nanopreneurs, adhikaris on our platform, who are a network, a retail network, nanopreneurs who are there. Now we have started looking at how many are women into that. And imagine 50% of our overall, usually in villages also, the home minister or the finance minister is basically the women who manage the finances. And they, if their need is there, how we can bring in lot of products related to them in the market on our platform. That is what we are doing. So be it your lending, small lendings are there, your Aadhaar enabled payment system is there. They have to take some small loans, microfinancing. So how they can do that, how they are making the community building, where they are contributing on the education. Small anganwadis are there, how they are taking the medicine. So how we can help that, okay, you can become an entrepreneur and you can become a distributor retailer for us to influence the financial inclusion, or even the agri and dairy business which they are getting into. Right? So if you'll get the data, if you'll bring them on platform and then start seeing it, your business models will succeed. So the key is always the data. If you look at it, otherwise it is like a garbage, right? It is there everywhere, and we should be intelligent enough. We should also use the wisdom. And there's a big misnomer or a myth, I would say, is there the data or the data analytics or the AI is going to eat the jobs. It is not. It is always the human mind and the wisdom which will play a bigger role. Data is available everywhere, but if you're not, what you're reading, what your brain is reading, is going to make a difference. Right? And that's where your value will be appreciated. Otherwise, it is like just data is flowing everywhere. So that's what my point is.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Atul. You have elaborated about uh, the subject. Now I would ask to all the panelists a few questions instead of again going through a round. We may not get that much time. Uh, Anybody would like to talk about the quality of data, quality of data analytics, because things can go terribly wrong with the quality of data and data analytics. In one company where I worked, the plant head used to tell his team members in manufacturing production that don't show the actual scrap that we are generating from the steel, which is the raw material, because every day the scrap report goes to the MD, who is the owner of the company. And if the MD finds that the scrap has increased, he used to shout, he used to get terribly angry, annoyed, because more scrap means more wastage of the raw material, steel, which is very costly. So more scrap means more wastage, which is more loss to the company, to the owner. So the plant head used to tell that we have to report less scrap every day, otherwise we'll all be fired from the job. We all will be fired from the job. So it was nothing but manipulation of data. SAP, ERP, all these tech companies are investing at huge cost, but still many of them are failing. It is because the data doesn't get created by itself. Data has to be punched by someone. And if the wrong data is punched or intentionally punched wrong data, so then you get all wrong reports. So that is what is happening. Many organizations are failing to get the results on the investment on SAP, ERP, etc., because the data is getting fudged, fabricated, or it is getting created wrongfully. So the quality of data, any of you would like to speak about it? And one more thing, how do you compare data? Like I myself as a recruiter, or we have all faced like issues. I would say simple issue: 10th certificate, 10th board, uh, percentage of marks. Somebody is from UP board, somebody is from CBSE. And I have heard that in UP board, if you score 80%, you are a great guy. But in CBSE, the guy is scoring 95% or 100%, which doesn't happen with UP board. So how do you compare both? How do you do it? How do you do it? So long back when I went for admission to Delhi University, they said that guys from other universities, we cannot treat them at par with the undergraduates of DU. So there we'll put you, they had some formula, how to compare it. So which means you cannot, unless it is an apple to apple, you cannot really compare the data. So it's a real challenge. Like I said, UP board and CBSE, how do you compare the two guys? So with this two.
So, yeah, so I just like to add on this quality aspect, and it actually boils down to the individuals using the platform. Um, as you said, someone has to enter the data, so there needs to be right rules and validations defined in your platform just to make sure data is put and it's kind of a validated data. So that's one part of it. Second is the person who is building a report out of it. I think that that's another piece where people talk about a lot of data visualization, clubbing various aspects into a single dashboard. As we just talked about some engagement score, definitely a lot of thoughts would have gone into getting the right metrics and getting the right formula behind it. But what I've realized in my career is that the person contributing towards that data needs to understand the domain and understand, as we're talking about, like understand the data. Like before that, if you all go into corporates, at least understand your corporate area. Just Google about what area it is. Is it telecom? Is it FMCG? Or just understand the jargons of that particular domain, and then start building out of it. And when we have these organizations building big visualizations, they of course try to uh, uh, reach out to various teams to bring up the information so that they can be represented in some way. And that understanding of the problem or understanding of the question is a key aspect here, that you as an individual need to know what is the ask. That's where it derives that, okay, you will be able to pull out a value out of a particular field. Is that the right field? Maybe you would have picked up some wrong field and it screwed up the entire report. So quality of the data definitely is required, and it has to be to be validated before you build a meaningful metrics out of it. And understanding of what you are sharing and what you are providing is another aspect which everyone needs to look at.
Like yesterday itself, there was in the news that in one company, they did very unethical practice, which happens often with the share market. They deliberately hike the share price because they did lot of buying. Okay, whereas it was a intentional activity, horse trading, those kind of things. So many cases don't get detected. Sometimes it gets detected. So data can play havoc with the investors, with the public, because you do not get to know the inside story. Uh, okay, and many great uh, CEOs have even lost their jobs and have gone into jail, like the case of Mr. Rajat Gupta, I think was McKinsey, the CEO, great guy, who who did the unethical uh, activity of insider trading, uh, which was very unethical under the US law. So
So just to,
I think it's to Mr. Atul. Would you like to, since you are from the fintech, would you like to tell fintech solutions? How does it contribute to the data analytics? How does it help in the data analytics?
No, so as I said,
Or in fintech, how do you use, what purpose and how effectively you use data?
so as I said, for fintech specifically, the market which we are operating at, specifically the rural market. So the challenge, I think, it is the best part of us as a nation is that, and unfortunate, I would say, is even after 75 years of independence, almost smartphones and internets have reached to every hand, where even the roads have not reached yet. So that's the kind of penetration which has happened, right? So when we looked at, so this is one insight we have looked at it. Whenever we do any business on financial side, financial transactions, so as I said, different contours will look at it, and there are a lot of wrong data also which we get it. So as you said, that in terms of comparing what data is right or what data is wrong, we look at also the customer behavior, what transactions are happening, what different reports. There are many reports which comes which are paid reports also. There are banks who also, I mean, I would not call it, but there are banks who also publish a lot of information which is not so true to be true. So on those premises, what we typically do in terms of the businesses, lot of what is the network of the banks which is there, what is the population. Like for example, Pradhan Mantri Kisan subsidy comes, right? Now it is in the numbers of 6 lakh crores plus. How many people are withdrawing that money? How many people are then using that money? For what purposes? Whether it is for their family, a child, or for procuring seeds, for procuring fertilizers, or sending some money, or using for travel or their leisure, right? So these are all different matrices which we look at it in terms of understanding from the same. And best part is that Aadhaar card is there, so same through same Aadhaar, through UPI, other transactions, we get that information. What is the flow? Okay, 30% of that subsidy which is coming is coming through my platform. We look at as a business in terms of the growth also, that what is the percent market size or the number of worth of transaction which happens. For example, if it is 25 lakhs worth of crores, 25 lakh crores worth of transaction happens on our platform, then accordingly we take a lot of call that, okay, whether my platform is sustainable, whether I have to upgrade my platform so that that kind of volume it can manage or it cannot be managed. Okay, how many more distributors or partners I can bring on my platform, what other services I can include, whether I can also now offer lending. For example, we have now introduced with the introduction of government ONDC, Open Network Digital Commerce. So now we have opened this whole commerce piece where the government has opened the commerce for everyone. So Flipkarts, Amazons of the world now are going to be on one single platform. And we are also part of there. But now I have introduced that, okay, here my network is there, and they have network are basically what people who are kirana shop owners, cafes, photocopy owners. Now they have to procure their items. They don't have to wait for 1 week or 10 days to get the 10 packets of Nirma or Surf or 50 packets of biscuit. Now through that digital platform only, they can just order and it will come directly to them. Right. So these are some of the things, insights we look at it. What is the consumer behavior? What is the buying and selling capacity of people on my network, on my ecosystem which I'm operating at? Basis that, then we start building other services or products on our platform to provide that. So that's how you have to look, keep on looking at the data. Every transaction we track every day. What is the volume of transactions which has happened, right? So it is like typical daily ka kitna galla hua. Us basis pe we see that what is the traction, what is the trend. Then we keep on seeing the trend. Okay, during this subsidy, my market share was 25%. During this subsidy, my market share has gone down to, for example, 21% only. Okay, this subsidy, this has happened. Why it is happening? Then we started seeing the seasonality. So this is how you have to link the dots and typically make your decisions and leverage the data and compare that which season what product I have to put in. Like we have started seeing a lot of frauds being virtue of there. Which are the areas? We have blocked some of the areas which we all have seen in Netflix and all other places. We have blocked those areas because they are prone for frauds. And we have said that, okay, my 1 crore of fraud is happening every month on this particular area. Let's stop the business there, or let's stop or blacklist those distributors who are actually operating in that geography or pin code. Right. So those are some of the insights which we keep on taking in terms of leveraging and then taking business decisions.
Thank you. Quite well said. Yeah. Yeah. Anything you want to add?
Just to add to these 2 points. Firstly, with respect to the fintech, with which Mr. Atul just elaborated on, it I'll just elaborate a very simple case study, and every student can be benefited out of it. That how analytics helps us in defining the problem first, and then how fintech technologies can leverage data to derive benefit out of it. And this is a very famous line being said by our ex prime minister, that when we send out 1 rupee to the to the citizens, only 15% reaches, or 15 paisa reaches. Right. This is a very famous statement made by one of the ex prime minister. Now, you come to this conclusion from analyzing the data set, that we are sending out 100 rupees, people are having just 15 rupees, and their purchasing power is still lower, even we sending it out to the citizens. Now that data helps us to understand there is a pilferage of 85% going on. Government comes up with lot of schemes, lot of ways to tackle that, and one of the ways to tackle that is adopting fintech, and for that they adopted Jam Trinity, Jandhan, Aadhaar, and mobile. Now that was being introduced, and then government again studied what is the number that we have efficiently achieved with DBTs, direct beneficiary transfers. Is there any reduction in the pilferages that we are seeing? You will be surprised that 85% was almost close to 0% after the fintech was being introduced effectively with the help of data analytics strategies. So it's at the business level, you need to understand that what is the context that is going on, understand the data around it, incorporate the relevant technological solutions, and then see, analyze whether you have been doing strategically well or not. So that's a very simple case study that every one of you can follow, and the numbers are available in open with respect to DBT schemes and the Jam Trinity. So that was with respect to, just wanted to add to Mr. Atul's comment. And the previous question with respect to the quality that was being asked. So quality, I think Saurabh covered well from the technical point of view. There are two aspects to the quality. One is the technical aspect. That means how you assess whether your data is fit enough to be analyzed or not. That's the first level of, and we do have a lot of tools. We do have a lot of algorithms which can assess nowadays the quality fitment of the data that you are using to make any sort of decisions. So that's the one part of it. The other part that we generally see with respect to the organizations is with respect to their preparedness levels. Lot of times the intent is there to incorporate data analytics, AI, ML into the decision making, but the preparedness level is not. Either they don't have the right culture, they don't have the right infrastructure, they don't have the right probably data that is being managed, collected, or gathered, or they don't have the right skills. And over and above that, even if these four are there, they don't have the right budgets to drive these kind of assets in the organizations. So when you are losing out on either of these aspects, whether it's culture, which is the intent, the positive intent, the understanding, the literacies, or the infrastructure, or the right amount of data collection gathering, or the right skill sets in the organizations, you're never going to succeed. And the quality of the decision making will always be on the lower side. So you have to be prepared first, and then be ready to take the help of analytics in your decision making. So that's also an essential part of the quality of in any organization, that when you are taking the help of analytics, you are not getting the right quality of output or ROIs, as you rightly said, with respect to your decision making, purely because you are missing out on the some of the pieces that are there in the organization. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just add to quality of the data, and I'll share one small this thing, especially on the recruitment side. So I asked one of my team members to just look at that, what is the candidate experience while recruiting, right? And we all can correlate. So they said, okay, so they started capturing. There's a tool. So through tool, once the candidate is shortlisted, of course, an offer is being rolled out, you get an insight and you share the feedback, how your overall interview experience, shortlisting experience has happened. So there, they showed me that it is 85% of the population are really talking high about our recruitment process, and they are very happy. Then the other insight I saw that, okay, let's also start tracking people who are not shortlisted. What is their experience? Ultimately, they are also my pool, maybe not for this role, but for some other role. So they showed me it is 83% are happy. So it was, then I looked at it, it was so, this thing to believe that, so that how is it possible that 83% of my not shortlisted? So I just said, okay, what is, how you capture that? They said that, okay, when you take that feedback. So they said that after the interview is done, first we ask them to give the feedback, and then only we give the final decision that whether you are selected or not selected, right? So before you're not selected, you will be, as a candidate will think, okay, why should I give a wrong feedback? So I'll say, no, everything was fine, and then you say, okay, sorry, you're not selected for this role. So that's how you have to also start looking at the quality of the data, and also know that where you have to pick the data, right? Which data point you have to really look at it in terms of the comparative, that which is working well, which is not working well. So that is very, very important.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Atul. Many of you may not be knowing, even I didn't know. It's very interesting. No, any of you knows in the checkbook of the bank, why do you write in both numericals, numbers, and also the words? And in the words, at the end, you write only 1 lakh rupees only. Why that need of only? And both numeric, both in numbers and in words, you write. This is the real story which happened in US, from where it originated. That in the checkbook you have to write in this manner, both numbers and words, and you have to write only at the end. Uh, one customer, client of the bank, he called up to the banker and said that I'm in a hurry for cash. Then the banker said, the lady said at the counter that she said that you have to come to the bank to collect your cash and bring your checkbook, fill up the checkbook, and then we'll process it fast. And you can take the cash. Then this client said that I'm in a big hurry. Really, I'm in a very big hurry for getting the cash. And you just take the number, the cash I want on the phone itself, and keep the cash ready. And I'm just coming right away to collect the cash. And he told the amount, certain amount he told on the phone. Then this banker lady, the teller counter, the cashier, she kept the cash ready as per the client what she heard on the phone. And the client came and the cash, he collected the cash. Okay, then the guy, after collecting the cash, filled up the check after he had collected the cash. And while filling up the check, he forgot to, he was short by 1 0 in the amount, 1 0, and it made a huge difference to the amount. And that lady was fired from the job and then penalized for the loss to the bank. So after this practice of data security, data safety in the checkbook, of you have to write only, you have to write both numbers, this started. Okay, so safety of data, security of data is so important. And today, these days, what you do with your personal data that you are creating, even in your jobs or even after quitting your jobs, you are leaving behind a trail of data behind. I'll tell you a real story. About 6 months ago, the managing director, CEO of a young CEO, he's the owner of one of the largest helmet manufacturing company in Faridabad, called me that I want to meet you. I want your help in talent acquisition. And he told me, I want a head of marketing. And he told the story about the head of marketing. The numbers you call up, these are all data you create and you leave behind the data once you quit your job or change your job. Okay. So he told me that now I find that education or the brand of the education, the institute, has nothing to do with honesty, commitment, and ethics or values. Then he told me the story. I had hired a a guy who was an IITian. He was from IIT Delhi, and he was MBA from FMS DU, which you know FMS is a great B school. And this guy he was with me at a very high salary. And since he did not achieve his targets and he really messed up, so I had to ask him to leave. But after the guy left, I had doubt about his whereabout, about his behavior while he was with us. Since he was the marketing head and he used to say that I have to be in the field, I have to visit the customers, I do not come to office. So most of the time, the sales and marketing guys are in the field, they're with the customer. So the CEO used to believe that that is their job. Uh, when the CEO called for this guy had left, he was sacked. The call details were examined. The most of the calls which that guy used to say to his boss, the CEO, that I'm with the customer, I'm visiting X customer today, Y customer in the evening. Many of those calls turned out to be the numbers of the spa in Delhi, Gurgaon, etc. And he was saying, look, Mr. Mahapatra, now, and look at this guy, IIT and FMS, but look at his ethics, values, zero. Zero, he has let me down. So now I have called you. Can you get me a guy who is honest, apart from great experience and skills, who is honest and committed? I do not want to have the same situation again, hire a wrong guy. So what you leave behind is you be very careful with your personal data as well. And the last question I would like to ask all the panelists that would you like, any of you would like to recommend or tell about the analytical tools which are available, which are great tools, good tools?
Okay, I think it's going to be a very relevant question for students sitting out here and probably looking to make their career in analytics field, right? So, in terms of tools, when you talk about, there are data visualization tools like Tableau and Power BI, which companies look at in terms of hiring people today at the entrant level, right? Other than the visualization tools, what they look at in terms of hiring guys is at least you're good in terms of your mathematical and statistical knowledge, right? That's the base and context for to get into this role. Second is your knowledge on SQL database. Third is your statistical programming on R and Python, right? And if you are also well versed with AI and machine learning, that's at flavor to the role. And uh, at this entrant level, there are three kind of roles, most preferably available in the organizations where they look in terms of hiring. One is the data scientist role. Second is the data engineer role, and uh, uh, then the third role would be data analyst role. So somewhat all these three roles are interrelated, but it depends from organization to organization what actually they want to hire and on what skills, right? But yes, you need to be somewhere in terms of your basic know-how should be versed with your R, Python, tools like Tableau, Power BI, right? And yes, if you have some base of statistical and mathematical knowledge, that really will help you to get through this.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, um, uh,
Yeah, if
Thanks.
so,
Yes, on the
just want
line.
to add.
Yeah.
So all the tools, absolutely right. The only thing I'll add there is whatever is the tool today, 3 years down the line, it's not going to be. Maybe 2 years down the line, it's not going to be the same set of tools. What is most important is the thought process. What is most important is getting into this culture thing, which everyone spoke about. Also, getting to a level where uh, you start understanding a particular domain. You guys are very young at this point of time, and learning from you is going to be very easy. The way the industry is going to emerge is not going to be about R, Python, Informatica, Power BI, or Tableau, and all. These things will be replaced by things like ChatGPT, as Rajan also said that there are tools available now. Just like Instagram, you can just put the algorithms over a period of time. What will be most important is, do you have the expertise in any of the domains wherein you can put a thought process in rightly analyzing the things? I think just wanted to add. So of course it is important, and you will learn all of that through the current available tools. But that does not mean if you master the tools that are available in the market today, that'll sail through for a very long period of time, probably a couple of years.
Thank you.
I just want to add on this, like my personal experience. I went to US, Verizon. They were doing some GIS analytics, and basically they were like a set of people already there working. I was placed there for some work, and eventually what I realized was that people were not aware of what they are doing. Like they don't understand the domain, and they were into fiber domain, and they were deploying fiber across US. So for me, the first question was, okay, do I understand these jargons? And I started learning that part, and within a month's time, I was able to produce a lot of GIS reports using a tool called ArcGIS, and that was my differentiator. Like I had this, as Mr. Kohli rightly said, that attitude and that analytical abilities, I think, is going to take you places, and that attitude of identifying whether I know this or not. If you don't know, just start reading about it. That inquisitiveness is important, and eventually you will arrive at the desired result.
Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists. They have done a great job. They have done justice. I think we did quite a 360 degree, 360 degree examination review of the topic today. It was a great topic, most relevant, and which will stay with you for all your career and all your life. About data, I'll tell the quality of data or authentication of data or data clarity. I'll tell you the last story, a small story. In one train, it was evening time. In the train, two passengers sitting together, and from the window, खिड़की से they could see the sun was setting. When the setting sun, okay, the setting sun, what color does it have? It has got a crimson red, okay, so which looks like, appears like a full moon, okay, isn't it? So both started fighting. One guy said that the sun is setting and it's beautiful. The other guy says, no, chand nikal aaya hai early. The moon has come early. Okay, so both are fighting with each other. Terrible fighting started. That time the TT came. The TT came, and the TT asked, "Why both of you are fighting?" Then they said that, "आप बताइए, okay, आप बताइए कि ये सूरज है या चांद है?" Okay, the TT answered that the train was passing through Bihar at that time, and the TT was a Sardaji from Punjab. He said, "I am from Punjab. Better ask this question to a localite. Better ask this question to a local guy. He will tell you, what is this? I do not know because I belong to Punjab. So whether it is the sun or the moon, so data clarity, data authentication, data validity is is essential. Thanks to all of you. And whenever you get a choice, when you all grow up, I think you all will get chance to panelists or moderators, etc. Always choose to be moderator. Immediately say yes to moderator because the moderator's job is the easiest. He has to ask questions only. He doesn't have to know anything. Thanks. Any questions? Any questions? I think you all have not asked any questions. We didn't give you chance. Any questions? Thanks. I have forgotten that. Thank you. Thank you. And delayed all of you for the lunch. I think you should not have called us before lunch. No, no, sir. It was absolutely. Thank you.
Are we taking questions? Okay, we are taking one question.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon to myself, Tushar. I had three questions to Arun,
Hold
Atul
on.
sir and Rohan sir, since they talked about the use of in fintech. Not work.
The mic is not working.
You are in front, close by. Can you talk without? Come to the front. Come to the front.
Hello. Actually, two of those questions were asked by sir. But relatively, the question which I have in my mind is what are the some emerging trends in data science and fintech that goes parallel, and you keep an eye off most, an eye on it.
Yeah, so let me try and answer. I think to an extent we did, but let me repeat. So fintech and data analysis go hand in hand. The more usage of fintech, the more digital footprint, as Samar also mentioned, Rajan also mentioned, you will have more and more data from the consumer behavior point of view, how much they are spending, how much they are saving, how much where the investment is going. More of the fintech, more of the data, and more the need of the analysis. So both of these things will go hand in hand. Of course, there are things like blockchain, for an example, which is emerging. Blockchain to me is more like the way internet was at some point of time, 20, 30 years back. The internet is there. We don't know what to do with it. Maybe just the emails, some browsing and all. Now there are thousands of use cases. Mobile phones came. We didn't know how it's going to emerge, but after 2005, 2007, a lot of applications, banking applications and other things started happening, a lot of use cases, right? Earlier it was just a phone with a camera, right? Similarly, blockchain and fintech, if we talk about those kind of things, I think this is where the next emergence is going to happen. So if you want to keep an eye on these things, but I make these statements with a word of caution that what we say today, if you invite us a month down the line, it'll be very different. Like Rohan mentioned about certain tools, I'm sure next time in a quarter when he comes, he will probably come up with another one tool. So what is most important for you is to stay relevant with the market, understand these big concepts, and then keep drilling down to those things as and when it comes. Anything anyone wants to add? Any other question? Yeah.
I think we'll take one only. We are running short of time. You have a question? Okay.
Very good afternoon to all the panel members present over here. I, I am Yashwardhan Jaiswal, first year student. My question is fintech industry a threat to traditional banks as fintech industries are capturing market share from traditional banks? Thank you.
Okay. So that's a very relevant question that everybody asks. And I'll start from the generalization and then hand over to Atul for specific fintech. I think this has been a common question since ages. Will computer replace humans? Will AI replace humans? Will ML replace humans? Will data analytics replace humans? Will it eat the jobs and all of that? So simple and same case with will technology replace the traditional businesses? A simple statement to that question is and in terms of AI and technology, AI and technology will not replace you. Somebody using AI and technology will replace you. Getting the difference? So it's the usage that you'll have to adopt. You don't have a choice right now, that you don't transform yourself with respect to the technological transformations that are happening right now. With the emergence of so much of data, you have to adapt yourself towards those practices which helps you in driving your business in a much more efficient manner. So it's not the question of that whether technology in any form, GovTech, FinTech, AdTech, MarTech, any sort of tech will going to eat the traditional businesses. No. The question is how much efficiency you can bring out of the traditional businesses using the technology is what we should ask the question. And we are all thriving towards that data and technology is helping us to improve the business efficiencies and the outcomes, and helping us to achieve our ROIs much faster and in a better manner. So that's more generic answer. I think Atul can add for fintech.
I'll make it short. Specific to your question, no, there's no threat to banks. Thanks to RBI, they have well-regulated norms wherein, I mean, fintechs are coming within their own periphery. And I think in a way, banks are more happy because through fintechs, they are able to serve the larger community. And as I said, fintechs are actually solving a lot of access problem. Like banks can't have branches in every village, the way we see in every nook and corner here in cities, right? Why? Because the footfall is less, population is less. And managing, trust me, if we know there is 2,500 to 3,000 rupees a cost which every bank incurs in terms of managing one account or one customer. Through fintech, in fact, that cost is going down by almost 60 to 70%, because that's where they are leveraging the technology. And the best part also is that being fintech into the place, a lot of it's like we call it phygital model, right? Physical presence is required in rural areas, but digitally all the transactions will happen. And that's where I think banks want fintech industry or fintech companies to help and enable them, because fintech companies don't have their own bank accounts. Bank accounts are always going to be some of the bank only, and through that all the transactions will happen. For example, UPI is not an account. Through UPI, either I have a bank account in IDFC, SBI, HDFC, or ICICI, wherever, right? But I am still going to use the bank account only, and then do all these transactions digitally. So fintech is just a mode or a transfer. And also, I think whatever banks can't do it within the rules and regulations of RBI, through fintech they are able to do it more and much better. So it is an enabler and complementing the banks this thing. So there is no threat for banks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Very clear, very precise, and extremely interesting panel discussion. Sir, your way of storytelling was absolutely exhilarating, and with inputs from all the stalwarts that are there on the dais, I thank you all for being with us for the day. I request Dr. Devendra Narang to felicitate our worthy panelists. First of all, Mr. Atul Tiwari. Huge round of applause, please. Mr. Rajan Gupta. Mr. Samar Mahapatra. Mr. Sameer Kohli. Mr. Saurabh Agarwal. And Mr. Rohan Sudan. We can have a group photograph. I'll also. Thank you so much. Yes, we'll get it packed and students will.